All right, you guys. Hi, it's Kate Quinn from FabriKated Quilts, and today we are going to be sharing some stuff on the long arm. So some of the designs will still be relevant for people that are using their domestic machines, but how you would put those designs on are going to be a little bit different. So the first thing I want to share is I'm going to pull my machine to the side a little bit. Doesn't look like there's anything there, right? But that's because we have to pull it towards you. So that is one of the most important things to think about with our long arm is we have a ruler base. So I'm just going to carefully get mine here. In fact, I might even just take that clip off because I want to show it to you really fast. So let's make sure we're in the camera. This right here is the ruler base that goes with my machine. So right now I'm working on a Handy Quilter Fusion, and that's a 24-inch throat, so it's actually quite a deep space back here. And this is the ruler base that comes from this manufacturer, and in fact it slides right onto my long arm, and it's very secure. It doesn't wiggle or wobble or anything like that. And what I have on the top, the green glider, I've cut down my ruler work glider, my Sew Steady ruler work glider, and I've put it right over the throat plate on this machine. And the reason I did that is there is a small recession around where the throat plate is and where this connects. So sometimes if I'm using that, that can cause trouble with the pins. So by putting this on here, there's no way for the pin to slip down or get in that area and cause any problems. So I've sewn many quilts on this without that glider, but if you are going to use a pin, it's a really great system to help make the pin work better. So it's not always necessary, but I find it helpful, and of course, I'm not really interested in taking it on and off. So it sticks really well onto the acrylic, but then at the back, I do have a little piece of painter's tape where it attaches to the machine, and that's just to keep that edge from snagging or bumping up. So if you're on a long arm, you cannot do ruler work without a ruler base. You must have it. One of the cool things that's available from Sew Steady is our company does make ruler bases. In order for you to use a Sew Steady ruler base on your machine, you need a platform that the sewing machine will sit on, and then the Sew Steady legs will sit on that platform as well, and you can level this out, and this would be cut exactly to your machine, and you would have a level surface that would allow you to do ruler work. So if you have any questions about that and you would like to try ruler work on your long arm, but you don't have a manufacturer integrated ruler works ruler base, then contact us and we will see if we can help you. So we can't help every single model out there, but we do make them, and we definitely can help many people to be able to use a ruler base so they can do ruler work on their long arm machine. So let's talk about a couple of other things that are going to matter as we set up our machine. So I have it set up right here. We're going to end up moving our camera, but you'll notice that I've got my clips right here. Well, you saw when I tried to bring my ruler base over to you that the clips kind of interfere, that you can actually hit. And God forbid you should have your clip like this right here, where you actually can break the clip. So one of the things that you can do is if you don't have enough space right here and your quilt comes right to the edge, you can just take something like a piece of muslin or a 2.5-inch strip and double it up, and you can pin it right to the edge of your quilt. So I'll just show you what I mean. I'll take this off. Let me grab some pins. And you can just, I like to double it because it's a little stronger, but you can take this right here and you'd weave your pin, your long arm pin, weave it in a few times for strength. And notice that I also have it oriented so that the pin head is towards the back, and I also have the top of the pin underneath. So don't have the pin sticking up so that if you move your arm across it, it's a problem. But now I can just take this and I can put this clip on here like that. Now I'm going to have to tighten up my my clamp. Okay. And you can see that I can put as many on there, as many clamps as I have, and then I would be able to extend this and not have the clip right up against my ruler base. So right here, I'm going to lift this one up so we can get this in and make sure that I can get onto the fabric. Okay, so that's ruler base setup and possibilities of extending your clip so that you have a little bit more room. And let's go ahead and shift the camera over to our workspace because we actually are going to be sewing over here. So you'll see, since this is really our first big long arm adventure, we're going to be tap dancing a little bit, but I'm okay with that. So I'm going to check in with Honey since we're just starting out. We want to see if there's any questions so far.
A couple spammers I'm trying to figure out how to block. Things changed on Facebook.
Yeah. So as always, ignore our spammers. Don't click on them. I don't know why they are so persistent, but we're not asking for any money, and you don't have to go anywhere else to see this content. It's free and open to the public, so just ignore them and just focus on this long arm awesomeness. So right now, I also am going to shift my light over just a little bit because I want you to be able to see better. So let's see if we can get some good light right there. Okay. The first template that I want to show you is the template with the pin. So we were just talking about that, and we're going to go ahead and we're going to mark with that crosshair square. So, sweetie, can you hand me the crosshair square right there on the table? I left it up there. And I need one of those erasers with the pins and one of those black discs that's in the drawer, those little black circles. Yep, perfect, thanks. All right, so we'll just put that here and we'll get the camera oriented. So you can see that right now, it's kind of flipping around a little bit, and that's because the ruler base right here is nice and sturdy and lifted up. And right here, it's a little bit soft. So I'm just gonna scoot this so it can lay flat. And I'm marking, I'm using my Air Erase purple marker. When I use my Choco liner, I usually use that for dark fabrics because that's white chalk. I do like this because this fits really easily into the channel. It's going to make really great marks for us, make it easy for us to see everything. So let me just set that aside. I got like 5 hands here, pockets, pens, clips, things, everything. So let's go ahead and the challenging part right here is I do think it's really complicated to get the pin in when you have to go underneath there. So sorry, babe. Honey got it for me, but I was just slacking a little bit. All right, so the long arm pin is pretty long. You guys know that, I think. It's pretty long. Can you see that? So let me see if we can get focused in on that. Right, so it's pretty tall and it's quite sharp. Very much don't want to make sure that you get your finger stuck on that. So I'm just going to reach under there, try to get that right into the center, make that hole visible so that I can see it on the bottom. And let's see if I can get under here pretty easily. So it's a little bit more fishing around. Like if I was at home and I had my domestic machine, I could just flip it over. So right now, I'm going to put this on here. I get a lot of questions about this little circle that comes with your long arm. The pin is in the center. It doesn't matter if the disc is or not. But the purpose of the disc is right now the ruler base is not under there. There's nothing under there. So if the pin had nothing to support it, it would just fall out. So this is going to prevent that from happening. It's going to hold that pin securely and make sure that it stays in place. All right, so let's get our template. As always, we always want to use some kind of this ruler grip. So stable tape is just really effective. It holds everything really well. And you'll notice I've got it in several places. So especially with the long arm, I have to change my hand position a lot as I go. This quilt cannot turn. It's always going to be oriented the same way. So I'm going to make sure that, okay, let's make sure we can get oriented right here so it can see what we're doing. Okay, so let's put this on. I'm right there in the center and I'm going to get this lined right up. Now here is some pretty fabulous information that we need to talk about. There is no opening right now. I mean, we could make an opening with our tape. We could open the channel, but I have a lot of people say to me, I have to have a slot or an opening in my template because I can't lift my presser foot up and down. Well, let me show you on this machine. Many long arms are spring-loaded machines. And in fact, you can tell that when they sew because the foot goes up and down. So just right up here, I'm just going to sew for a second, let you see that. Get that bobbin up. And as I start, watch the foot itself. Let's see if we can bring you in a little tighter. We'll bring you in closer. So watch, you're going to watch the foot right there, okay? I focused it. Yeah, I got it. So right here, notice how the foot is moving up and down, right? That's the hop of this machine. So we have to make sure that we are aware of that. When I bring my foot in here, if I want to sew, let me cut this thread and we'll bring it over into the ruler. What I can do is I can just lift it up. I think a lot of people don't know that this part of the foot is spring loaded. So I can just lift it up just like this, hold it, and just hold the ruler in place, and I can just put it right into the middle. Now this spring-loaded feature is on a lot of long arms. It's on, mine is Handy Quilter, it's on Baby Lock, it's on Janome. So if you've never tried that before, you should just try it yourself and see if you can do that. Okay, just lift it up. It does take a little bit of pressure. We'll get you in a little closer so you can see. All right, now just like we would with our domestic machine, we want to line up the ruler first. Right on that center line, there's a line right in the middle, and this is A and this is B. So I'm going to slowly bring the foot in. If I just bang the foot in, notice how it's going to cause the whole sandwich to shift and vibrate. So we don't want a lot of push and pull movements right there. You're just going to gently set the ruler in position, pick up that bobbin, and get yourself right in place. So I'll just bring it in. I'm going to check my alignment. I like to hold these threads right here when I start and maybe put a couple of tacking stitches right there before I get going. Now with the rulers, do you want to move it out a little bit? Like we can make it bigger?
No, keep that in the center where you're working in the center because that's what it's focusing on.
Okay, so.
Instead, it's currently focusing up at the.
Okay. Okay. All right, so right now, so you can see I told you we were going to tap dance a little bit. I'm going to put my hand flat on the ruler. Notice that it's wide because I want to avoid any moving parts on my ruler, on my long arm. This is going to be moving, so I don't want to get anything close to there. So I'm activating this grip right here, these two, and this one at the top. And I'm going to start it, and then I'm going to move. Remember to make sure your machine starts first. Here, I feel like if I try to sew back down here, I won't have enough support. So I'm going to have to hold this, and now I can come back down and get that set, just like that. Right into that little space right there, and then I can rotate. So this particular template is going to rotate at 90 degrees, and it has a little alignment on the back that I can use. And then I'll check my alignment right here and look at that reference line on the back. So here you can see I'm going to have to hold my hand kind of like this, pretty far over there, and make sure that I can line everything up. So I don't think I can sew all the way back, right? With this hand position. If I don't, if I feel the ruler is maybe moving, then that's a sign that maybe I need to tighten up this pin right here, or maybe do a little shift right there because maybe it's gotten bogged down. And then I can get right in and finish that. So I have seen on some machines, like as you go around, if it feels like you can't move, just kind of go like this with your fabric and lift it up just slightly and then keep sewing, and you should be able to get around. And I don't usually have that problem with any rulers that aren't pin driven. So that's kind of the workaround with the pin. I think it is beautiful and it sews great, but it does take a little bit of work from you to make it work. So here, notice that my screw is kind of impeding my movement right there. So what I like to do if that ever happens, I just lift up the needle and see how the foot comes up. Then I'm going to position the ruler and then put it back down. Now the screw is on top, and when we start sewing, you'll actually hear it just for a second. You'll hear a little sound. Okay, and then we'll go back the other way. And right here, I don't feel like I have good support, so I'm going to shift my hand. We'll get right back into that B spot and rotate again. And some places when you hold your hand, you are more comfortable. So like right here, I feel really comfortable holding that. Because right now the foot and everything, the ruler base is right in the center supporting that. And right here, I can just easily get this lined up. And I can even do a little massaging, even on the long arm if I need to, in order to get my foot right into position. So right here, I'm right up against the edge here. Let's see if we can shift it so you can see a little bit. So notice how my hand is really, really close right here. So I actually kind of cup my hand a little bit to open that space up instead of having it flat. And that protects me from getting anything caught in there. But that's about the time when I really feel like maybe I need to adjust my hand position over here a little bit. So now we're at the top and we'll just sew back down. Oh, I'm having a little thread issue right now. Well, let's see what happened. So my thread is saying that it doesn't like what I did. And I think a lot of that is, it's kind of an odd angle that we're trying to hold everything so that you can see with the camera. But, you know, if this ever happens to you, that's totally fine. I don't even get frustrated. I just go ahead and I rethread. And if I can just slide the thread right down the needle, it should go right in. So I just slid it down the groove right there in the front. And then I'll come back over to wherever I left off and try to position my needle as precisely as I can, kind of get a few stitches back. And I'm going to pull up that bobbin thread so I can get it up to the top. Let's see, did I get it? That thread is a light color, so I can't really see it too well. There we go. It is so tiny. I always have trouble picking it up. So it feels pretty tight. I might need to check that it's going to be loosened up enough. So here, let's tack a few stitches. I'm just going to put a few micro tacking right there. And just to make sure I don't have these threads hanging around, I am going to go ahead and clip them. Not too short because I can't really get in there, but I do want them out of my way. You know, I don't want them causing problems while I'm sewing around because they can wrap around the foot and really create some challenges. So right now, I can check my position right here, and now I'm going to sew right back into where I started. And I would just tack off right there, just like I did before, a few of those micro stitches. And then here, once we're done sewing, I can just lift this whole thing up, get this out of the way. When I pull my machine away from here, I'm lengthening that bobbin. So right now, I'll just hold the thread and I'll bring it back. And now we can go ahead and get that bobbin thread and get that cut. Got a lot of threads right there. So here I can just pop this off. And if I'm done with this, I can just take that off. And those are our little threads from our snafu when it broke. And I can just cut that and get those off of there. Oh, I see what happened. We have a little thread wrapped around there. All right, so that's the Fun and Fancy Circles on Quilts number 21. It's beautiful. It's a gorgeous design. It kind of makes that fleur-de-lis shape. And this pin is going to hold that. So right now there's no ruler underneath there, ruler base. So when I'm done, I want to go ahead and just wiggle this off. And might need a little push to kind of get it started because it is pretty secure. I'm going to get my fingers under there to pull that out. I never want to leave the pin in for an extended period of time for two reasons. I don't want it to make a large hole, and I can just use my finger and kind of braid the fabric a little bit. It makes those fibers come back together, and then it also prevents that pin from being stuck in there and maybe forgotten about, especially if you have busy fabric. It's going to be really important to get that out. All right. So we've talked about the pin, and that's been something that a lot of people ask me about. I hear that a lot. So the next thing I want to do is just some regular kind of stitching that we might do. We'll use our straight edge and we'll just make a box, and we'll show you how you can move some lines like if you were doing piano keys. So let's go ahead and we'll set that up. And I think we'll come out just a little bit here so we can give some space for that. And we'll just scoot out a little bit. That way we can give the machine some room. So the long arm moves backwards and forwards. So it's kind of important that we don't hit you or the camera when we're doing that. So we have to kind of adjust things a little bit in order to get that. So right here, I'm just going to make a quick box, and then we'll put some lines in that. So we'll tack that, and let's get these threads out of here. So, and I can clip it closer later, but again, I don't want to have threads hanging out on my long arm base. So here, usually I like to keep my hand flat and I want to activate these grips. I think it's really important that you have pressure on the ruler and off the ruler, just like with our domestic. And we still have that same 2-finger rule down here at the bottom. Want to make sure that you're not going to sew off of the edge, right? So notice that my foot is in between pressure points. I never want to be holding the ruler like this and sewing out beyond it. Okay, so even though I'm not at my 2-finger rule, I always want pressure on the front of the foot and the back of the foot. Now with the long arm, I can just line this up. I even can use this straight line back here, and then I'll sew to the side. And then same thing, I can use the lines on my 12-inch arc to make sure that I'm squaring up as I sew. Okay, and then I'm not sure if we're squared up, but I'll just sew across. So right here, this is going to be the square, and you can see I'm not quite aligned, but I'll look for that as I sew. Try to get the needle right in line right there, and then close this with my 1/4-inch eyeball, right? Now, same thing with your domestic machine as with your long arm. The needle's in the center, and the edge of the foot is a 1/4 inch away. So right now, if I line this up right here, and I can just move this up to touch, I can just move across, get lined up right on that. Notice how I'm going to stop the machine every time. I think that's really important. If I need to make decisions, if I need to think, I want to make sure the machine's not going to do something that I don't want it to do. So I always press the stop button. You'll also notice that when it stops, the needle will descend to the down position. And I just prefer that. I want to make sure it's going to do that. So if I want a 1/4-inch spacing, this can be lined right up on the existing stitch line right there. And then if the foot isn't touching, I'll just push it back and make it touch. And we'll sew across. And I can just keep adjusting this to get a nice clean look. And line it up again right there. Make sure I'm touching and stitch across. Right? So here, there's my 1/4 inch right there. That's the space from the needle to the outside edge of the foot. I can also right here use this and line it up right on the bottom to keep it square. And that'll help me make sure I'm staying in the line right there. It's only a few stitches for this 1/4 inch. It's probably about 3 stitches as I move down the line. So if you're, don't want to do too much work, you can actually just count. You can say, okay, 1, 2, 3, and then my foot's probably in the right place, and it is. And then you can cross. So if you have a regulated long arm, you can use that because it knows how far that it's traveling right there. And you can just count 3 stitches down, descend, 3 stitches, over, 3 stitches, that way. And it'll get you close. It may not get everything perfect, but it's definitely going to help you to be able to position things maybe a little faster. So we'll just scoot over. So, and I think sometimes when we teach, things look like they take a lot longer, but the truth is that you'll get really good at positioning this, and you'll be able to do it faster and faster as you go. I don't have to think too much about the reposition anymore. I can just get things in place pretty quickly and then move down. And these are things that make really good fills, really great piano keys. They're easy to do, any kind of straight line work with the long arm because you can go every direction. So I'll just kind of scoot out of the way here. And that'll give you a chance to see we were able to get those parallel lines in pretty good, pretty quickly. Let's see if we can get in a little tighter there. Okay, and those are all about 1/4 inch apart and pretty easy, and then you can see it's pretty clean along the edges as well. Now, if you're using a contrast thread, a lot more will show. If you're getting double stitching along here or your stitch is not perfectly clean, you're going to see that a little bit more on the long arm with your contrast thread. And if you use something like a light gray or a white, it's going to be a lot more forgiving. And that's the same thing that you'll see when you're on your domestic machine. So
a couple of quick questions. Are you using regulated or manual stitching, and what speed are you using?
okay, so right now I am in regulated mode, and let's talk about that for a second. I'm just going to bring the foot right back down here, and we'll just sew right here. And I want to show you the difference between the modes that you might see on a long arm. Okay, so I'm just going to sew 2 lines right in the bottom here. Right now I'm going to put my machine, it's in regulated mode, and it's also in what we call cruise mode. And let me show you what that means if I turn it on. Notice how it's stitching. Even if I'm not moving, it's still stitching. Cruise is a travel mode that keeps the machine on even if you are stopped. If I stop moving, it still is going to sew. And the purpose of that is great when you are sewing quickly and you're going around curves and you're changing directions fast. That allows the machine to ramp up speed really quickly because it's already going. It's not coming from zero. But when I'm working with the rulers, I like to use this precision mode, and that's what we're going to be in for most of today. If I sew, it will stop when I stop. So if I just move down right now and I want to sew and I stop, it's still on, but it's not doing anything. If I press it, it'll go, but if I stop, it stops. And then you'll notice that it may stop even half cycle with the needle up, and that happens sometimes. So if I press stop and my needle down is selected, that's when it's going to put the needle into the down mode. So for myself, I like to use precision style where the needle is doing exactly what I tell it to do, and when I stop sewing, it stops immediately. And if I'm repositioning something, if I'm finished at a stop point in a design and I need to do some finagling, always stop your machine. Actually press the stop button. Don't just count on your precision to keep things from going, because if you move the machine, then it will sew, and it may be unexpected if you didn't turn it off. So for safety, mine is an easy click of the button. I always turn it off in between stitches. I just do it as a very automatic process. Okay, any more questions, baby?
I think those were the main ones right there.
Okay, so just a quick review. Make sure your sandwich is stabilized. You need your clamps so you don't get this vibrating, bouncing, rotating thing. You're going to be managing your speed as you come into changes of directions like we did here. When we came into the point and we changed directions, you want to make sure that you're slowing down so that you're not hitting your stop point at a high rate of speed. So you're going to gradually slow down just like you would at a stop sign. You can't get to the stop sign going 60 miles an hour and think that you're going to be able to stop safely. And it's the same with rulers. So that's the one thing. And then you can use clamp extenders with pins if you need a little bit more room to get the clamps out of the way of your ruler base. So that's a pretty easy thing to do and very, very effective to give you some more room so that your ruler base is not bumping into those clamps. And then we talked about counting and using the lines. Let me see if I can get this in focus. Using those lines to square up when you're changing directions if you need to. Okay, so let's go ahead and we'll focus back down here. Now, today we're kind of talking about fun and fancy, and one of the shapes that we have is a circle. And a circle can be a little bit challenging on a long arm because you are going quickly in multiple directions. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to mark a center line, and I'm going to show you how I do these circles. So give me just a second and we'll adjust our camera position as well. Okay. So just like we said before, if we want to switch our position, I'm going to pull up my needle and I can just cut this thread. There's no need for me to sew over to my new location, so I'll just cut it and then we'll restart at the new position. So what do you think? Should I sew towards us? Would that be better?
What I'm just trying to avoid is your arm when it reaches across and blocks the view.
Yeah.
So I
So
know it's hard. It's a long arm. So.
yeah, it's a long arm. So my controls are on this side and my needle up down's on this side. So you'll see periodically I may have to reach across you. I will try to be aware of that, but it's a little tricky. The camera is, has to be there or you can't see anything. So let's talk right here. You can see that my leader is partially in the sewing field. If I'm sewing on my long arm, here, let's scoot it up just so you can see the back right there. Notice how I've got the leader, quite a bit of it actually is showing. I don't feel comfortable leaning all the way over and sewing up here. It's ergonomically, it's very uncomfortable. So even though I have a really large throat, if I'm doing ruler work, I want the work to be close to me so that I can control it and I can have the appropriate pressure. So typically, if I'm doing ruler work, I'm not going to be doing it up there. I'm going to be doing it close to where I am standing. That just gives you more control and it allows you to make your designs more easily. You're not going to get as tired and you're going to have better success making the design beautiful. So don't have your work way out in front of you where you're having to lean over and your body posture is really difficult. So let's get you in a little closer here. We'll get you to see our little circles real fast. So we'll kind of put you on a little bit of an angle, but hopefully you can still see. All right, so first thing I want to do is get my circle in, get the foot inside, and then we'll get everybody aligned, and then we can start sewing. So this template has a center line right in the middle, and I'm going to pick up my thread right on the line that we made, pull up that bobbin thread. That bobbin thread is so tricky, I can't get it up. He's very fine, it's a finer weight. It's 80 weight, so he's really, really thin, and I can't pick it up. Okay, so right here, this is really important to show. So right here, I'm holding on this side, and I might need to be shifting my hand as I go, because right here, there's not as much pressure, right? So there's my 1.5. I'm controlling that, and when I'm on the center line, I'm going to put the needle in the stop position, and then I can move the ruler. So we'll get it all lined up. Now I went this way, so let's go the other way. So this is a little less comfortable. We're pulling out. So we've got to go a little bit slowly here, keeping that foot really in good contact to make the design really precise. Then scoot down. So every person that is stitching, if you have the same long arm that I have, you have a different one, what you'll experience is that your machine has a weight of its own, and it has some momentum when you start sewing. So if I am sewing really, really fast as I go around, and I'm not prepared to start slowing down, the machine actually will carry itself a little bit. So that's going to be where you're going to be watching for that and making sure that you can control that speed so when you want to stop, you can. So we'll just do a couple more of these. We're getting them lined right up. Okay, right there, and then we'll scoot down. So I do have grips over here, and I'm kind of got my hand a little bit wide so that I can activate maybe 3 of them at a time. And that'll help make sure that we can get a nice position, get the ruler to stay in place, and get back to where we need to. So right now, if I wanted to change something and put a different ruler on, it's pretty easy for me to take this off and just undo the key, and then I can just slide that out. So that's one of the great features about that. I really like that this offers a very clean, smooth, round look by having that channel, so I don't get any odd stitching on my circle. So right there's through the center there, and you can see we do have the double stitching on the alternating sides. You can really see it on the white, but it makes really, really clean and pristine, beautiful circles using that tool. So I'll get you in a little tighter. Just really, really pretty. So it's a really fun tool to use. It's not that complicated. It does have a little bit of a, yeah, thank you, honey. That's okay. So right here, there's a little circle, and you can see that the center line is right through the middle. This is the reference line that you'll use at the back. So as you make one circle, then you can line this line up on the previous stitched circle, and that's going to keep your lines beautifully right in a channel. Make it really easy for you to have a gorgeous line of pearls. So that's what we did right here, just to show that, and I'll go ahead and I'll get our camera reoriented in that space. So this is a little finagling, but it kind of helps us be able to move in and out. So that'll help us get a close view, get a far view, whatever we need in order to help share the designs with you. Okay, so let's go ahead and we'll just make a little channel right here, and we're going to show you some things with our beautiful, gorgeous back-to-back template, which I adore. It's super fun. It looks great, and it is so fun to use. So I'm just going to make some center lines, and then we're going to just show you how you can line it up. So mine is the 3-2, and what that means is that the spacing from this foot hook to this foot hook, it's actually 6 inches, because the circle or the curve is 3 inches, and then it goes underneath 3 inches. So it's an S-curve shape. On one side we have a taller curve, and on the bottom we have a narrower curve. All of the back-to-back templates are just like that. They offer 2 different sizes. So I'm just going to show you what those look like. So we'll get that set up. Let's get my marking pen out and my straight edge. So when we're using a little bit of a longer template like this one, I think I'll just scoot over right there, get in the line, and you're going to put the foot hook right in there. And I have grips on both sides of this template. They're on the front and they're on the back, and that's because I can flip this template over. The very first line, let's see if we can you get one of those purple cards? I know where it is. Oh, perfect, thank you, that's great. Good. Honey is very inventive. He's got a great idea. All right, so let's put this up. The line, the very first line that's right here across the top, this is the line where the needle is going to be seated. So the foot would sink right in there, and that foot is going to be aligned right there. So the needle will go right across with this line. So when we line it up, that's the line that I'm going to use right on this reference line as we go down. Okay, so this is kind of long. So like I can't really hold it all like this, right? But I am going to line it up, and I'm going to hold where the foot is. So I can sew about half of it to where my thumb is, and then I'm going to need to change my hand position so that I can make it a little bit smoother. So watching my fingers right there, and then right here, I'll stop. I can just walk my hand down and make sure that this edge right here is aligned, and then I can sew smoothly. And as I come into the foot hook, I want to just gently, kind of slowly ease myself into the hook and not bump right against it. Okay, so again, lining it up right there on the line and essentially holding just what I can in order to get along. Watching my fingers, and I'm right on the reference line where we started. So I can go ahead and I can just maybe adjust position just slightly. We can even just scoot over a little bit. And you'll see this will be fun. This will make a little bit of a, let's see if we can get lined up. I guess we have to scoot over a little bit. So I'll line it up still on the same center line. And all we've done is we are shifting the design down a little bit. Oh, I just heard my thread. That thread is so ornery today. Alrighty, well, you see it all. You see the nitty gritty stuff, right?
So a couple of questions while you kind of work.
Yeah, go ahead.
Are there feed dogs on a Longarm machine?
So this particular machine, there are no feed dogs on this long arm. So this doesn't even actually have that mechanism at all. So there's no way for me to put it up or down or anything like that. And there's no need for me to cover the feed dogs because there aren't any. Most machines that you term long arm don't have any feed dogs. I mean, they may have the ability to lift up the presser foot, but I know that Handy Quilter does not, the Janome Longarm does not, the Baby Lock Longarm does not, Gamel does not. Those are specifically designed as a longarm to keep those out of, no problem. They have regulation integrated, so they're not advancing the fabric at all. There's no need for them to move the fabric because the longarm frame is actually holding that. So let's see, how do I get myself back in line? I think we were like right there on this line. So there's my 1/4 inch right there, and I'm lined right up on that center line. And let's see what happens. Let's see if it misbehaves or it doesn't. All right, so we're right on the line, so we can scoot down. Oh, that did not work out well. Oh, you guys get to see all the gory details, huh? So I'll create a little ribbon. I got a little bit of an echo there. And then we'll do that longer echo. We'll make this big fat ribbon. I'll get these guys out of here a little bit because we got some weird threads right there. Oh, I got some tension issues. We're gonna have to go back and do some adjusting after class. We won't do that now. All right, so again, I'm gonna just scoot forward a little bit. I'm gonna scoot up. It's about a 1/2 of an inch, and now I can just put that right on there. And again, I'm gonna hold right up at this portion. Okay, and then as we move down, I can't get all the way here. I don't have enough hand pressure. So, and then right when I'm at that stop point, I'll scoot that down and I'll just start moving down to the next curve. So this ribbon that I can do right here with this back to back, let me just tie it off so I can close that design. Just by offsetting it, you can move it down a 1/2 inch, an inch. You can use your spacing gauge, and you're going to get this really cool ribbon look by doing that. So it's going to give you this really pretty offset right there, and I just think that looks so fantastic. It's such a pretty way to use your back-to-back templates. And this one is, we use this shallower side, I think on this side. This is the shallow side, but if you want a deeper ribbon, then you can use that deeper curve, and it'll make the difference between these two lines a little bit taller. You're going to have it come up more to a peak. But such a pretty, easy way to make a pretty ribbon, makes a great border fill, and you can just cut it anywhere. You can see right here, just by sewing on the straight line, we went ahead and closed that ribbon, so we don't have to do anything fancy to close the edges. So, okay, let's think about what we're going to do next. Let's move along. I'll check in with Honey real quick, see if we have any questions before we move on. We've done a couple of them.
Use high shank rulers on a Longarm?
So that is a really important question. That's a question that we get a lot. So we talked a little bit at the beginning about how this foot moves. This foot is designed to lift up and come down. So every time it takes a stitch, it does a little jump like this. So what happens, can you go grab one of those high shank ones? I think it's right there. Let's see if I can find one. I think they're in that blue bucket right there. Just grab one of those and we'll kind of show that. I'm not going to sew with it because it's actually dangerous, so I'm not going to do that. If I do, this can go right under there. Like when this hops up, this will come up enough that this ruler at this high shank thickness, it can just slide right under there. So even on our domestic machines, I hear a lot of people say, oh, your ruler, if you're using the wrong one, it's going to go underneath your foot. Where that comes from is using the wrong thickness on a long arm, not using a 1/4 inch on a long arm. If you have a long arm that has a true 1/4 inch hopping foot, you must use the thicker rulers. This one is too skinny. And I'll put these two together so you can kind of see the edges. Can you help me focus that way? Thanks, right. So we'll get these up right next to each other. See if we can kind of put them right close together. So it's not that much, but it is enough that right there, this one is going to be a little stronger and a little thicker and prevent that foot from going up on it. Okay, so that's really important that we use that long arm thickness only when we're working with our long arms. Okay, there's no substitute for that. Don't try to put your low shank or even your high shank. So here, I'll tell you a funny story. I tried it, right? No, it did not work. It definitely went under there. So you don't need to try it. I already tested it for you. Okay, so let's do one more. We're going to kind of keep today a little short and sweet. We're not going to go as long as we usually do. It's a little different mechanics, and I think we're kind of getting used to that and trying to see if we can still show you things in the best way. So we're going to stop around an hour, but I want to give you one more. So let's create a little space for us to show this next piece in. Let's get these threads off of here as always. Definitely don't want any loose threads hanging around. So let me show you a little thing. Can you grab that right there, baby? This right there. Thank you. If you have trouble with thread management, you can just take a piece of batting and just put it on the side of your project, right? You can just keep it really close by, the threads will stick to it, and that way you can just pick them up afterwards and take them over to the trash, and they're not going to get... Oh, okay, sorry. So just take a little piece of batting, and you're just going to put your loose threads on there, and that way you keep them off of your project. They'll stick on there. When you're done with your work for the day, you can just pick this up, bring it over to the trash, and clean it up. And this is certainly not something I would throw away. I could reuse that. But I mean, this way I can just get all those threads. You don't want them trapping your foot, number one, and number two, you don't want them getting into your long arm and getting drawn into the mechanics of your machine. So you're going to make sure that you always have good thread management, keep control of them, or have your thread bucket really close by. I'm going to show one other thing that's just kind of random, but I cleaned up my machine before we started. I actually took a little piece of batting and I wiped down my wheels of my machine. I wiped down my track, anywhere where the machine was going to be touching, and there were even some loose threads in there. You can't see it, but that's like a piece of thread right there. So what happened by cleaning that up, I'm preventing poor stitch quality. If the thread binds up on a wheel, or there's a little bit inside the track, or the wheel is dirty, it may not move as smoothly. And just like we want a really precise, smooth movement when we're sewing free motion or on our domestic machine, we want the exact thing on our long arm. So make sure your machine is clean, make sure that the external parts of your machine are all wiped down, and try to do that with every project. You can also put in a new needle for each project because that'll help you get the best stitch quality that you can have. If you keep those nice and sharp and working well, you're going to avoid any problems like this guy. Okay, so let's make our box and let's get sewing. That's a lot of talking, but not a lot of sewing. Just kind of, ooh, bumped myself. Okay, and then we'll just close it off right there at the top.
Somebody just asked, what was the name again of that back-to-back ruler you were just using for the ribbons?
So the back-to-back ruler is called the 3-2, the back-to-back 3-2.
They can't hear my questions at all.
Okay, Oh, so guys, I'm sorry. I'll reiterate the question. Somebody was asking, honey, what is this template called? This template is called the back-to-back 3-2, and that means that the curvature is 3 inches and it's number 2. So it's a 3-inch curvature in terms of the dimension. The base of the curve is 3 inches. So this is actually 2, an up and a down, and it's an up and a down on each side. This side is 1.5 inches deep, and this side is 2 inches deep. So you're actually getting 2 different depths of curve with this one. Now there's lots of different back-to-backs. This is the one that is in the Fun and Fancy collection, and we'll share all those templates at the end. All right, so let's go ahead and we're just going to make some random marks here. We okay? Okay. So I'm just going to kind of space some little areas here, and we're going to just make some curves with this. So maybe we'll make this one a little bigger up here. We'll ignore that one. So the next one I'm going to show you is not an internal, it's an external curve. Okay. So let's see, we'll get in a little closer. I think that'll let the light shine a little better if we can get in close. That's perfect. That's good, babe. All right, so we'll start up here, and I'm just going to show you the hand position. And what we'll do is, we're going to do the ones in the middle and on the side, and you'll be able to see some different hand positions with this. This one is pretty small, so he's easy to hold on to. Definitely put a couple of grips, not just one in the center, but a couple. So we may end up hitting that light. Thanks, baby. You can tell that we're learning. It's a learning process, right? Okay, so this one's kind of tiny right there. So maybe I can only fit just the tip of this instead of all of that. Like it's not long enough really, because that's not going to even give us anything. We want a nice, cute little curve. So let's go ahead. Right there, I'm going to just keep that connected. As I go around, I have to really actively make sure that the foot is staying connected right there. So as I go, keeping it touching the whole way, right? And I've got pressure right on the ledge here as I'm holding. So I might need to push this one up. I'm looking for the 1/4 inch right here. So as the foot comes around, I'll be right at that intersection. So right there, that's where you got to start saying, okay, I'm changing directions, hold on. So as it comes up to the top, I think it's easy for the machine to press against it. But right here, when you start descending, that's when I really have to actively push back and make sure that it stays touching. So right there, I'm looking for that 1/4 inch. And as I sew, I'll get right into this little corner right there. Now, if I'm sewing this one and I want to put this right here, so I can get maybe a little curvature, I'm going to kind of keep my hand a little bit flat because I'm going to have to pull the machine across my hand like this. So I want that pressure right there. Oh my goodness, so irritating. I can tell you, if you've ever sewn, you have this problem, right? We all have some days where it just doesn't want to behave. All right, I'm going to see. So right now I'm just going to pull on this thread, and I'm just going to loosen it just a little bit, lefty-loosey, to see if maybe it's a tension issue right there. And then I'll start right back here at this corner. So there'll be a few threads that I can pick out right there if I want to. Let's see if it's stitching. Okay, I think it is. I think it's set. So my needle's in position, and now we'll go ahead and sew across right to our corner. So that's the 1/4 inch. I was making space right between this curve. And right now, if I can try and put this over here, but I can't really hold it. If I have it over here, this is my long arm control, my handle. So I would have to be putting my hand across my work like this and holding. So that's one of the things I wanted to share with you. So sometimes we do have to keep our long arm kind of at this odd position and sew that way across our hand. So then if I wanted to fill in these, you can see I can use my 1/4 inch right there. I would line this up right in the center, and I can hold behind. Okay, and then I would switch it to this side. Again, lining it up so I get that 1/4 inch. I'm using that calibrated 1/4 inch eyeball. Okay, and again, I would have to come back. I can hold it back here, but as the machine sews, my hand is going to be in the way. So this is a really short distance. It makes more sense for me to hold it on this side. So I'm going to watch my poor pinky right there, make sure I don't get hurt. And then slowly I'm going to track, and if I need to adjust my hand position as I go, I will. Sometimes I can't get the completed shape without making a hand adjustment. Usually on your domestic machines, you can get a little bit more without having to manipulate. I mean, this is such a short distance that you would think you wouldn't have to make an adjustment. But based on where the machine is and where you're having to hold the handle, it's going to be important sometimes that you sew across your body. So I'm going to put several fingers, and then this part of my hand is what is actually on the fabric, helping make sure that nothing is moving around. Okay, so then we'll do one more. We'll get ourselves right here. I'm looking at this 1/4 inch, and we'll come right over to that, and we'll close the design right there. Again, I'm going to turn it off, and then I'll come back and position it on this side, right to that corner. And then I would bring this over here and get lined up with my hand on the inner side like this. So making sure that that little screw is not going to bump me, because I don't want to get bit by that. Get myself right in there. So you can see this could be a really cute, fun design. You know, I've got some pen marks, but if we sewed this, this would be so cute on a border. And you can change the size. What would limit using it like this is the width of this. So this is about a 2-inch width in terms of stitching. So it's right here, when you add your 1/4 inch, you're going to get about a 2-inch width. So that would be about as wide as it could be. As we push it up, you're going to get more here, more depth. So you could make a little bit wider border, and you can get a little bit more depth right there. So that would be something that you could use in order to make quite a wide border with this cute little guy. He's really adorable. And then obviously he would have to be able to fit across the width, so he can't be wider than the actual template. So I'll just finish this last one, and then probably we're going to be done for today, I think. So right here, I'm looking right there. I know my foot needs some space, so I'm looking for that 1/4 inch. I'm just pulling that gently across, getting right to that corner. And again, we'll use this one last piece right here and get us right into that top area. And I'm just going to make sure that that machine stays connected to that ruler all the way across. And right here, as I sew this last one, I can get right across, so I'm going to hold back behind here and just pull the machine right across the front to connect it. One more stitch right there. And then I'm going to tack it off, and I'll pull it out, and I'll be able to cut that bobbin thread. So that's our cute little design right there. I think he was really a fun, cute border design. And that piece, let me show you what that is from. So we'll do our little thread cleanup. We got to use our good thread management technique, just like we talked about. So we'll stick it on our little piece of batting. And I'm going to grab the oval and show you both of these. So can I have this card, babe? Thanks. So in the Fun and Fancy set, there's the 3x1 oval. So I'll kind of just put it down. Okay. Okay. And I guess that piece is upside down, but right there, he goes right in there. So you get 2 actual different sizes. So Sew Steady used to just give you this 3x1.5 inch oval when you would order that. And they started putting these cute inserts in there. And I have to say, I love this. I love using the insert just as much as the outside. And it lets you have 2 different sizes, so you can make swags with them because one is a little bigger than the other. So it's a really fun opportunity to get some different designs, and designs that are similar or related size designs, and be able to use those in different spaces. So this was the insert. This isn't something you can just buy by itself. This would be something you would purchase, the 3x1.5 inch oval, and then this would come with it. So I'm going to put up my fun and fancy designs really quick. Can I have that pink fabric right there? I think that'll help everybody show a little better. Pink is my favorite color. You guys know that, right? So I'm just going to put a little piece of pink fabric up here so that we can show all of our fun stuff. So the book is Fun and Fancy, right? And that is over 100 different designs. There's quite a few. So we'll just come this way. Turn the book this way. Show me. It's fine. Just show me what you want to do. Okay. Okay, so he's just trying to make it so you can see it without feeling like you're going to tip over. It comes with a free project. If you buy the Fun and Fancy bundle, there's a Fun and Fancy table topper, and that is available on the Sew Steady University. And then we've shown you the circle and the inset, so that's one template. We've shown you this back-to-back 3-2. Okay, so let's kind of scoot out. We want you to be able to see everybody. We'll kind of scoot them over so you can see. This little circle that we did is the 1.5-inch circle, so it's a very small circle, but it works great. It's good for channels. If you're going to do pearls, I like the 1/2-inch, which is in the back, the between the lines circle set. This is a between the lines circle at 1.5. But this is so great for good borders. For like a 2-inch border, you can put that 1.5-inch circle, and he works really well for that 2-inch fit. Then the next one, we didn't really demonstrate this one. We're going to do this probably next time. This is the Spin Effects number 8. So I'll just scoot these over so he can fit in there. So we haven't done the spin effects. I think we were going to work on a couple of the spin effects next time to show you how you can use the spinning templates when you're working on your long arm. So there's no pin that we'll be using in that situation, but we'll be showing you how to work with those interior shapes and how you can rotate and keep things aligned. So that's our topic for our next long arm session. And we'll use the Fun and Fancy, this one, and we'll also use some other ones just for variety. And then the last template is the one that we showed you earlier, and that was the Circles on Quilts 21. And that was this beautiful spinning template that makes that fleur-de-lis shape. So that is a 90-degree rotation, and then you can certainly double or triple those up and make more dense designs if you want to. So all of those templates come in the Fun and Fancy bundle. The regular price for that, I believe, is $75, and you get this My Amazing Book, right? Okay, don't worry, I'm tooting my own horn. It's okay. It's a cool book. It's got a lot of awesome designs in it for you. And the way it's organized is it's stepping you step by step with pictures. There's start and stop messages. There's a lot of different tips that help you see what you need to do as far as each of the topics. And then there are some designs at the back of the book that are based on an actual project. So I'll just kind of flip to the back real quick, where we show you how you might be able to combine those designs if you were going to quilt an actual quilt. So these are different ways you can use those designs in an actual block project if you wanted to put those on your quilt. So there's a couple of those as well to really make that patchwork connection and help you see how you can actually use the templates on a real quilt. So I'm going to just check for questions and answer any last questions, and then we are probably going to be done for the day. So Honey's, he's searching. Yeah, there was a lot of maneuvering around, definitely, because the long arm doesn't stay in position. It's definitely a big challenge to make sure we're giving you the best view. We're working on that. So, we appreciate any feedback. Hopefully it's all positive, but we recognize that, if you have some ideas, you can share those and we'll try to integrate them and see what we can do to make our experience better for the viewer.
Is it better for them to see if I'm zoomed close in, or if I'm back and they can kind of see the controls of the long arm and how you're using them?
So Honey's comment was, is it better for you as a viewer? Do you want to see the design up closer, or do you want to see the machine moving and maybe seeing some of the handle and things like that? So we're really focused on what is the ruler placement perhaps and the integration of the foot in the ruler. But if you have some other ideas, you can go ahead and type those into the chat and we'll definitely check those out and try to integrate whatever we can to make your viewer experience more effective. So Alrighty, you guys, have a wonderful day and happy quilting, and we'll see you next time. Next time, we're converting back to our domestic education. The second Sunday of the month, we are going to be focused on the long arm education. So the rest of the time, we're going to be demonstrating on the domestic machine. Just keep that in your mind, and we will have some reminders popping up on our Sew Steady page. Thank you for being here. Have a great day, you guys.